Good evening, guys. Good evening. Good evening. I hope we're all doing all right. I hope we've all had a nice day. I hope everything is going fine with us. Thank you for joining, guys. Always. Thanks for being so supportive all the time. Thanks for your love, your support, your affections. Thank you for joining. I've had such a blast talking about this topic, say no to bride price. I'm very grateful that I've, been able to find the grace and, to actually talk about this. So thanks, guys. I hope we've been watching. I hope we've been watching the first to the second and the third. Because if you haven't watched the first, the second, or the third, it may look like as though this is a bit confusing. So I do advise us for us to really grasp the message, for us to go and watch the first, for us to go and watch the second, for us to go and watch the third, and then come and watch the fourth. So I'm going to, I'm looking forward to talking about it. If you're here, please say hello so I can welcome you to the platform, so I can greet you, so I can acknowledge your presence on the platform today. So thank you guys for being so supportive. Before I get started, we already know what the topic is, so there's no need for any massive introduction. So we already know what we've been talking about for the past couple of days, for the past 3 days, even. So please, let's go ahead and let's share, let's invite people to come and watch. Let's just go ahead and envisage a better tomorrow, and because of that, let's go ahead and share, let's invite people, let's notify our friends. So I look forward to talking about it some more today. I hope we've been learning a thing or two. I hope we've been able to take something away from this, and it's been, for me, like I said, it's been so beautiful talking about it. So I hope we will be able to see it as a sort of a challenge to ourselves to change, and not to see it as though someone has come to condemn us and then turn our eyes away from it. So yes, please go ahead, please say hello. Yemi, I see your likes. Thanks for being here as always. Thanks for your support. Please go ahead and like, please go ahead and share. Let's just get started. Before I get started, I'm just gonna do a quick run through of what I've been talking about for the past 3 days. So let's just do a quick run through on the say no to bride price concept. Okay, so we started the say no to bride price topic on on 2 foundational scriptures, and the scriptures that we looked at were Ephesians chapter 22 verse 16 to 17 and Deuteronomy 22 28 to 29, where the Bible talks about that if a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married, and he rapes her, and then he is discovered, then he shall pay the father of the girl 50 shekels of silver, and he must marry the young woman whom he raped. And from this, scripture that we read, we came to understand that bride price is not a thing of integrity. It is not a thing of to be celebrated. It is not a thing to be happy, to be proud that we are doing. It is a thing that we should be ashamed that we're doing, because it is not a concept. It is not a requirement for marriage. It is a penalty for raping, for violating a woman. When you rape a woman, this is a payment that is required of you to pay. And we looked at the story of what's her name, Aina, our brother. When our brother asked and requested of Shechem to pay to get all of the men circumcised and stuff, and that was because Diana's brother had an hidden agenda in his mind. He knew what he wanted to do. He had something evil in mind that he was planning to do, and because they all got circumcised, he was able to then swoop in there and kill all the men. We also saw the story of David, when David asked for when Saul asked King Saul asked David that if he wanted to marry his daughter, that he should go and Micah, that he should go and kill he should bring I think 200 foreskin of the Philistines, and David went out with his men and they killed 200 Philistines, and they brought back their foreskin. And we saw that none of these marriages or none of these plans ended well anyway. So it isn't something for us to think about and learn from. It isn't something for us to celebrate. We also saw the fact that, we also looked at the fact that whilst the servant, hello Innocent, hello, thank you for being here, hello, please, if you're here, please say hello, so I can welcome you to the platform, so I can call out your names, so I can acknowledge your presence. Thank you guys. Okay, so I remember when we also talked about Rebecca, when the servant of Abraham went to pick a wife in the house of Abraham's brother, and he picked Rebecca, and to come and marry Isaac. And we talked about the fact that not only was Rebecca related to Isaac, they were from the same parent, lineage and stuff. They were sibling, related, some sort of cousin and stuff. And but at the time it was permitted. There was a lot of things at the time that was permitted at that time. Also, Abraham sent his servant to take some gifts, not because it was mandatory, but because he felt okay, he had something to spare. So Abraham took out of what he already had. He didn't have to go and borrow. He didn't have to go and look for it. It didn't stress him. It didn't inconvenience him. And then he gave it to the house of Rebecca to bless them. But it wasn't that he was doing it because he was, because he wanted to pay a bride price, but because he felt, okay, I can give them something. And even whilst he did it, a lot of people have used it a lot of times to preach to us that this is what was done in the days of Abraham. This is what Abraham did, so why don't we do it? When we understand where the idea of this came from, then we will understand that it is not a requirement for marriage. Like I mentioned earlier, it is seriously, this has come to challenge our integrity as a person, to challenge our integrity as a nation. Something with such negative connotation as written in Deuteronomy 22, 28 and 29. Something like this should be something that we read and we get really sad in our spirit. We should see and we should be like, it's a shame. So that brings me to my first point today, which is actually that this dowry that we talk about, we see as our culture, is actually just a ritual. It is a marriage ritual that has developed over time. It is a ritual that shouldn't be found amongst us, but that we are doing it and we're happily celebrating it. And we think, okay, no, whilst we think it elevates or it brings you close, I don't even see the point of it. I thought about it, I sat down for a minute and I started writing down what are the advantages of paying bride price. And some of the things I was writing down was, okay, so the girl's parents get some money, which is what, you find. Do your research. You'd be like, the girl's parents get some money to say thank you for raising her, all these years. They get, and they, the girl feels like, okay, this guy can take care of me, his family can take care of me. It goes to, but all those little things, they are not benefits. They may sound like benefit, but they're not benefits. You know why? Because first of all, the parent of the girl raised, if your parents truly raised you, because I know most of the girls these days are even raising themselves. So if your parents truly raised you, number one, these people that are coming to collect this dowry, most of them had nothing to do with raising you. But when it comes down to the time you're getting married, they all show up. Everybody wants to come and collect dowry. And then you know what? When they collect the dowry from the families, they start giving a list. Oh, this is what you need to do. With the mindset that the girl will go there, she will give birth to children. She will go there. She will be a very good wife. She'll be a domestic staff. She'll do everything for her husband. And we've already established when we talked about the values of a woman, that women are not built. They are not birthed, and they are not to be sub to anybody. Nobody should be sub to anybody in this life. Everybody subs to one another. So that word that has been used to define woman, that a woman must submit, we have already established that a woman is not to submit to anybody that is not submitting back to her. If you're submitting somebody, then somebody must be submitting back to you. And so with the mindset that, bride price is to be paid, with the mindset that the woman will come and submit, that is like literally like you're buying a slave. It's like, we're gonna give you this money, because it's like when you're buying a slave from the slave owner, you give the slave owner the money. The money doesn't go into the pocket of the slave, but the slave goes there and slaves away. That's exactly what we're doing here, because that money doesn't go to the pocket of the girls. It doesn't go to the pocket of the person that is being sold off to marriage. It doesn't go to our pocket, but it goes to the pocket of the parent. And we looked at the story of Leah and Rachel to evidence what their father Laban did when he sold them off, with the strength of Jacob, when he said that Jacob should come and work in his field, and he sold them, and then he used, instead of paying just employing a worker and paying. He saved up that money for 14 years. Jacob worked. And then what happened after 14 years? The girls left their father's house, and they were saying that not even one thing. There was not even one inheritance left in their father's house. There was nothing left for them to have found in their father's house when they were living. And then Jacob took his wife and left. And we see that there's so much negative, connotations. And yesterday we looked at the story of Uganda. How some women, a woman who started up Mufumi, the lady in Bristol, who's traveled back to Uganda and started up Mufumi to fight for violence against women. She said that from when she set up the establishment in 1995, and then in 2007, when she realized it was a woman with her problem, she did like a data analysis. Then she understood from the data that she did that 70% of this violence that we found was as a result of bride price issues. And because of that woman, she was like, when she went to Uganda, she started fighting up. And she said that when she fought in Uganda, a lot of people were against her. Not only did she then discover that women did not have honor whilst they were alive, women did not have honor while they're dead. You know what she found out? She found out there was a guy that actually, his wife died. But because the guy hadn't finished paying off the bride price, do you know what happened to him? He hadn't finished paying off the bride price when the wife was alive. The family of the wife, just imagine a woman, your own family. They took that woman and they kept her in a room for 7 days. And they said to the guy that you cannot bury your wife until you have finished paying off the bride price. Then the guy had to go. The guy had to go and be looking for money to come and finish paying off his bride price for 7 days before they allowed him to bury. Women did not have honor when she's alive. They should not even have honor even when she was dead. Many people, many cultures have seen it as an opportunity to sell off their daughters, to use her as I've talked about the north, the Nigeria in the north, where girls are still not allowed to go to school. The father sees as more of a blessing for him to give her away for marriage and get some money out of it. It's always been for somebody's aim than to send her to school, where she will be a blessing to the world. And I was saying and thinking to myself that in a country like Nigeria, obviously you would think that sending your child to school in a country where we are still developing would be more important to a person with the mindset that my nation needs to be great. But when somebody has a selfish mindset, you'd rather regard it more beneficial for you to send your daughter to an imam or send him off to get married, or even some parents still don't think it's okay for them to educate. If they give birth to a boy and a girl, they would think it's rather better to educate the male child than to educate the female child, because of this one mindset that she's gonna get married anyway and I'm gonna get some money out of it. And because of that, I said yesterday that it's not only now women abuse that is a result of this bride price issue. There is now infant abuse, children abuse. There is infant abuse, adolescent abuse, little girls that little child. The minors were abusing little kids because we do see men that will give up their 13-year-old girl to get married. Why? Because there's a man will give you money. And we need everybody's hands on deck in a country like Nigeria where we're still developing. In other countries, parts of the world. And you find that this bride price issue is only practiced in countries where the poverty rate is very high, because these parents see it as an excuse to get out of poverty. Most often they see it as an opportunity to get something from what the government has failed to do for them. So they see it as their daughter compensates, giving their child away in marriage compensates for that thing that the government has messed up. They see it as an opportunity for them to get something in their pocket. And we saw the way that Uganda has been fighting for this. Uganda fought for it to the point that, because in the Uganda's what's it called? Not constitutional right, but what's it called? Their law. You're not allowed to divorce your husband if you are if you do not pay back that bride price that you took away from him. That he paid on your head. You're not allowed to divorce him until you have found that money. And in such scenarios, when women go on to their husband and to their family house and say, this man is really maltreating me, please, we need to find this money and pay it back so I can divorce him. Do you know what they tell her? Go back there and be a better wife. We don't have where are we going to find it? And I talked yesterday about the fact that people find it's easy to collect that money, but very hard and very, very difficult to pay back that money. Nobody is able to pay back that money. And we saw that in Tanzania as well. But we saw the fact that Zimbabwean women have taken it to the Constitutional Court. And we saw that from the story of Priscilla Bagasi, who said that she has been fighting for it She has written to the Constitutional Court, and she said that she wants the idea of bride price abolished. It is not just that. More evidence more research shows that even Kenya has been fighting it as well. Kenya has been fighting for this to get abolished. The Center of Right of Education Awareness says that the Kenyan women have taken this to court. They said the center, which is called the CREW, Center of Right of Education Awareness, said that after they did they assessed 120 marriages in Kenya, and then they realized that 64% of that marriage. 64% of that marriage was women explained, and it shows that women were being treated as just property. The women there said that they felt like they were just an essential commodity. Their whole life was just to become a husband and become a wife to somebody. And then once they get married, people are expecting them to give birth immediately. And then once they get married, their life becomes about, people see you and the first thing they ask you, how are your kids? How's your husband? They no longer have a personality. The women were no longer, and even this stupid bride price stuff then said that because the man had paid for his wife, he's allowed to punish her if she does something wrong. How can you subject anybody to the point that somebody is allowed to punish them, and a human being like herself, our own husband, who the Bible says the two becomes one, whom you're supposed to be the closest to? Just imagine you do something and your husband is beating you to support just because you did something wrong. Just because you did something wrong. And this is the result. This is the result of what we have allowed. This is because we have failed to change our mindset. We have failed to change the way that we perceive the women in the public. This is the result. Women are not commodities. So you cannot put a price on somebody. There's no bride. There's no price that you can put on a bride, on a person. Everybody is important. So that's what I'm trying to say here, that Martin Luther King said something that he said the time is always right to do what is right. The time is always right to do what is right. So that means that we must be willing to do what is right at all times. We must not be afraid to change it. This lady, Cecile Urlop, as a documentary filmmaker living in Johannesburg, she said that when we challenge and when we question our culture, it doesn't mean that we want to do away with the cultures completely. It means that we want to change it. We want to make it better. We want to make it more conducive for every human in that culture to feel elevated. When we have a nation and everybody is not feeling elevated, then it's not a system. There is no vision. And then I remember Pastor Sunday's book, Without Vision, A Nation Perishes Without Vision. A Nation Without Vision is a Meaningless Nation. That's the name of the book. And in that book, it talks about the fact that when you don't have a vision for your nation, you are already, you can't. And that's the way it needs to be. We need to have a vision with the mindset that we want to get to the best. So that means that every hands must be on deck. Nobody must be deprived of the right to study, deprived of the right to go to school. I was reading the story of another girl in Kenya. Her name is Sinegugu Sekaken. Basically, she was a third-year university student. Basically, her boyfriend said to her that, I want to get married to you. Fine. So she took her to her family house. And before she knew it, she said when they approached her family, they started selling her future away. They started discussing cash payment. Oh, this is our bride price, this is our list. She said that she felt excluded. And for once, she looked at her family and felt like, I'm not a part of this family. Are they really about to give me away for some monetary value? Probably half of them did not have any clue how she was raised. She probably struggled her whole life. But because she wants to marry from their tribe, they have to bring something. And I've said yesterday that it's simply fraudulent. It's simple fraudster. When I said I painted a picture which I've continued to pay and I'm still going to pay, is the fact that just imagine a white girl and a white boy wanted to get married. And then the white girl's father looks at the boy and said, if you want to marry my daughter, go and bring $5,000. Go bring $10,000. It's criminal, right? And we'll be like, whoa, that's fraudulent. Why would I do such a thing? I'm marrying your daughter. I'm marrying her because I value her as an individual. Because I see great things that we can do together. Because I see that I just want to serve. I just want to make her understand that she's an amazing person for the rest of our lives. Not because I want to buy her from you. It's a privilege for me to marry her, and it's a privilege for her to marry me. We're both blessings to each other. Isn't that enough? And that's what the women of Kenya are fighting for, that they want it abolished completely.
Although Kenya is also talking about the fact that they want to legalize polygamy, which is very, very strange for me because I don't agree with that concept. Or, you know, except you're not saying that polygamy, if a man is allowed to have more than one wife, then women must be allowed to have more than one husband. That's the way it can only work and function. And that way we can say there's true equal rights in that situation. But Kenyans are trying to, they're saying it now, that they want, sorry about that guys, that they want everybody to be in their marriages to feel like they're equal. But they want the country to make sure that they legalize, legalize and get rid of, abolish bride price payment from the system forever. They want to take it away forever because there's no need for it. And I've said it, we've already read the scripture that it's not a requirement for marriage. In fact, it was a penalty for raping a girl. It was a penalty for whomever you rape. So if we know that it's not a sin, if we don't do it, then why are we advocating for it? Why don't we look at the fact that so many women and so many research has shown that women are being abused and are still being perceived as a product? I mean, we cannot pretend like we don't know that women are often perceived as a man's property. I mean, let's just evaluate it. She gets married and the first thing she does is change her name. Why would you change your name? Did he adopt you? The woman, first of all, she gets married and the first thing she does, change her surname. When, just imagine like, who am I going to use? Beyonce knows when she got married to her husband. Did she change her surname? The thing is, because she knew at that time that my name means something. I have already built my name to have a significance. When we raise every individual to have a value system, just imagine marrying a guy and telling him, oh, because you're a guy, change your surname. Guys will be like, whoa, no. I've got to be, because we've trained our boys to become a personality. Because we train our boys to have a sense of, you know, somebody. Then we look at our girls and we say, you are just going to become a man's property someday. And then when we sell the girl off to a marriage, when we take things, that's what we're saying. Go there, change your name. Go there, change whoever you are. Go there. And we forget that this girl has built herself to become somebody in life. That's why if I ever look at Pastor Sunday's wife and be like, Stabose, and be like, I'm amazed. Look at Pastor Sunday, the way he looked at his wife, and Stabose said, I'm not changing my name. He said, that's fine. He said, if you want me to take your surname, I will take it. But she said, no, you keep yours, I'll keep mine. And that's respect and love. That's when you see love, you know that it is equal submission. It's not one person being forced. When the one person is being forced to do something, then it's not love. Love cannot truly exist in a place where one person is the only one that is submitted. But one person is the only one that is given at all. There's no true love. Love can only be when two parties are submitting, just like Christ submitted himself to us. The Bible says Christ submitted himself to us. That was the way it could demonstrate love. And that's the only way we can see that there's truly love anywhere. Okay, let's see what else is on my list. This story about the Kenyan, it says that Miss Njogu believes that the time has come. Yeah, that's just what I was saying before that. Like Martin Luther King says, the time is always right to do what is right. It is the time for us now. So the time has come for some of these harmful traditions and practices like bride prices to be abolished, to give women their full and equal dignity, just as they are men. That's what Mrs. Njogu says. It is time for us to understand that anything that connotes a woman to a property, that connotes a woman's amazingness, that brings her, subjects her, it is not human right. When we fight for human rights, we are fighting for everybody's right. Human right means woman rights as well as men's rights. That means everybody must be allowed. There's nothing wrong with submission as long as everybody is submitting. But when one person is submitting and the other person isn't, then there's something wrong with it. Then we need to evaluate that system. Okay, so it says there that although Kenyans' rich history of positive tradition, we have certain harmful ones. Basically they're saying that they've come to see from the from that research that they did, that the name of the crew. They're called the Center of Rights Education and Awareness Team. When they did the investigation, then they understood that, wait a minute, there's a lot of women that are being treated, they're not regarded as anything. And then a lot of women actually said that I don't feel like I am equal with my husband. I don't feel like I'm in a relationship. I don't believe, that I am. Because they know in their minds. And they were able to then study and then realize that this is, a lot of people actually, it says that the study titled Bride Price is a modern day slavery. That was their conclusion on it, that bride price is actually modern day slavery that a lot of us don't know and we're celebrating and jubilating about. It's a ritual and it needs to be gotten rid of. Okay, so let me just see what else I've got on my list today. Okay, so yeah, so Kenyan government, as they're planning, just like what's it called, just like Zimbabwe are planning right now to ban bride price payments and legal, forever. So we must begin to think about it. At least Kenya is doing something, Zimbabwe is doing something, Uganda is doing something. Let's not be the one that's rebellious and say, oh, we don't want to change. And it's not a matter of copying them and saying what they're doing on copying. But the thing is, when we look at it, when I see it as well, when I was doing the research, and it showed that most of the countries that practice bride price, these countries, most of them are in below the poverty rate. And that's why it's not practiced in like the US, in the UK, because it's practiced in some part of US, I guess, but it's not mostly practiced in the US, because this country, they don't feel like, oh, we've got to collect, we've got to sell. They don't feel, let's just fix what's wrong. Anything that is making us feel like, oh, you're gonna lose something, it's all for the wrong motive. And I still see it, and I see that anybody that is still advocating for the rights of bride price, it's because they've got a wrong motive. It's because they've got something in mind that they've got something they've got to get. Either you're thinking, oh, it's gonna help me get something, there's a motive behind it. That's it, simple. The next thing I was gonna talk about is the fact that we can have a successful marriage without paying bride price. So all these men said that, oh, you're not married until you pay bride price. It's wrong, because the Bible doesn't require it. So the fact that we can have a successful marriage, and how can we have a successful marriage? Somebody was asking the other day that, okay, so what do we do now if we don't pay bride price anymore? What do we do? It's like, okay, so do we just do church wedding? I was saying to the person that even church wedding itself is not required. All you need is your parents, witnesses, and a blessing. You need to it's the blessing, God's blessings. And two, joining their hearts together in the presence of witnesses, saying, we're married. You don't even have to throw party. You don't have to buy clothes. The party is nice, it's good, it brings the fun out, it's jubilant, it's nice. But it's not until you do that, because some people don't have the money to do that. And they'll go and borrow. It's not until you borrow. As in, like, people will literally personally put themselves in debt to please people. As in, I have not seen that people go and take loan and be like, we'll get married though, so we take loan. And I've never really understood that concept until I understood that, whoa, okay, by the time you calculate all this bride price, calculate how many food people will eat, you start understanding why people have to take loan. And you realize that some of these things, the people willingly put themselves in debt just so that they can get the approval of people to say, Eshe Party, you did well. And it shouldn't be like that. Some people can't afford to pay. And in countries like Zimbabwe, the reason why and Kenya, why they're fighting so much is because they realized that there were a lot of children being born out of wedlock because the parents were not allowed to, because they couldn't find the money to pay the bride price. So a lot of guys would just impregnate their girls, or some people would just start living with their boyfriends because they believe that, well, I can't pay, I'm not going to find 50 cows head, or I'm not going to do all this stuff that it required of me when I barely even work. So some people just be like, okay, let me just do whatever I want to. Let me just go and marry and get pregnant for my boyfriend, because if you don't even acknowledge that you are married until you pay that thing. But you don't have to pay it. Why are you paying it to? And I've said before that except it's going to God's pocket too, because God is the one that's sustaining our lives. Then whoever is collecting it is just a crime, is a criminal. So yes, so that's why they now said, okay, you know what? Another thing they're now putting in the constitution is that if you have lived together for 6 months, you are now legally married, and that's what's happening here in the UK as well. If you've lived together for that long, you're legally married. Did you just go and collect your paper? You're already married. And that's because people are realizing that, okay, you know what? It's not helping anybody's matter. It's by tribe as well. And what I've known about truth in life is, if truth is truly the truth, then truth must be, how do I say, it must be equally practiced everywhere. That's how you know that something is the truth, because you see it manifesting everywhere. Now, for them to then go, okay, they don't say that, oh, this culture, this is what we take. This culture, this is what we take. This culture, this is what we take. The thing is, if it's going to be, I think it's one country that says that, I think it's Uganda, they have a set price. A particular tribe, they have a set tribe. And what's it called? Kenya, they have their own 40 different ethnic groups that have their own particular price as well. So it's not as if, you have to do different things. But at the end of the day, even with those set price, women still feel like they're regarded as just a product. And it's still increasing violence against women. And the fact that you cannot leave your marriage until you have paid back the bride price doesn't help matter either. Because the violence is increasing, and then these women are getting nothing out of it. And they can't leave their marriage because the people that chopped the bride price were not willing to put it back, or willing to pay it back for them to have a successful divorce. So, yeah. And the only next thing I was going to say is that everybody must and everybody deserves to have a quality and a quantity of life. Every person deserves a quality and a quantity of life. Everybody is an individual. Everybody is valuable in the sight of God. Everybody is beautiful, and we need to ensure that we are fighting for the right for everybody to have a quality and a quantity of life. And that means that we need to have this mindset that the child that we have today, that child that we see today, doesn't belong to us. As long as you keep thinking your child belongs to you, it is impossible for you to give that child a quality and a quantity of life. You have to think that with the mindset that my child belongs to the world. My child belongs to the future. My child belongs, God brought this child to me so she can be a blessing to the world. Not so that I can use that for my own personal gain. If you keep thinking your child is your own, or people be like, oh, when you get married, we're going to collect 50 yams. And you're like, oh, for what reason am I for sale? Like, for what? A child you should be like, okay, oh, we get married. I think it was China. I was reading the story. I think it was Bro Clement that posted it on my last show. And I was reading the story of a Chinese lady that has been commended for not taking bride price, I think, from her Ukrainian husband. And his family was very, very rich as well. And she said that there's no need for my husband's family. And in China, men pay bride price as much as $20,000. And then they commended her, the government commended her, they even gave her like some sort of gift. They gave both of them a gift to say that they commended her for not taking bride price. She said there was no need. Why should I stress my husband's family? Why should I stress anybody out? They commended her for not taking it. And her family, they said that they were surprised. You can look up the article as well. They're surprised that she didn't take bride price. There was no need to. And that was a woman with a value system that felt to herself that, look, I'm not for sale. I'm not, I don't have to give glory back to anybody. I don't have to please anybody. Most people are living to please somebody. And that's why we have the problem that we have today. That's why we see most of the problems that we see today, because people are still living with the mindset that we've got to please somebody. But when you see yourself from the mindset of value, then you understand that there's no need to abuse anything. I remember when I was saying about Pastor Sunday's favorite quote, that when you do not know the value of a thing, the abuse of it is inevitable. But when you know the value of something, then you don't abuse it. You don't see the need to abuse it. You just see it as, okay, that thing is valuable. We've got to cherish it. So there's no need for us to take bride price. And like I was saying about the marriage concept, it is not until you throw a big party. You can just have a simple, living room, blessing, and that's it. You can have a nice sit-down dinner, feed some people. Did you see the couple that fed the homeless on their wedding day? Both of them, they got dressed in their suits and the wedding gown, and they went to a homeless shelter and they took all the food to the homeless shelter to feed people. It's not until you have pleased the whole community before you know that you have done a wedding. It's not until you have taken loan and you're in debt before you know you have done a wedding. Yes, $20,000 dollars. Go and check it up. I was reading about it as well. It was just equally as shocked. $10,000, $20,000 for bride price. That's how bad it is in China. And that woman, for her to be looking at her husband's family that is not, that is rich, and she felt, oh, I didn't need to take it. That was her saying that I know my worth. No amount of money you pay over me can ever. You don't pay bride price in my family. If you want to love me, want to show you love me, then treat me with respect. Treat the children with respect. Treat my family with respect. Be the person that you want to be in this world. Don't let me be an hindrance. That's how you can pay me a bride price. That's the price for owning me. Value systems. I've said it before that because people are so focused on people that don't know his bride, they don't know his character. They will just say she's getting married to him. They will show up. They don't know what he's like. They don't know his character. They don't care whether he has a good character, whether he's going to treat you right. They just know that they will collect something. They will collect 52 bars of yam, which they will split. And we may think it's just, it's something small, but still, it still connotes the woman. We shouldn't collect. And if we will collect, just like Mrs. Priscilla Bengase said, she said, if we will collect for one, then we will collect for both. That's the only way we can give a woman honor. We cannot reduce her to some sort of, bride price. Okay. I think I pretty much covered everything that I have on my list today. So, yeah. I was saying 64% before. We said, indeed, the finding revealed that an overwhelming majority of women, constituting of 76.7%, had bride price paid for for their wedding, and all of them were going through, they were going through abuse in their relationships. And then most of the ones that didn't have bride price paid, they were not going through abuse. I don't know why. It doesn't necessarily mean that you won't get abused if you're not, getting bride price. But that was the result of the investigation conducted by and reported by Anne Njogu, the director of CREAU. So yes, let's just continue to. There are various things that constitute the violence against women, but this is one of them, and we must not ignore it. For us to tackle the big problem, we must tackle everything one by one. I think I have pretty much talked about everything that I have on my list today. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for being here. Let me just see some of the comments that you guys have dropped. Greet everybody. I greet everybody that is on the platform. I welcome everybody. Gifts, Amos, blessings. Chinwe, hello to you. Sheyi, thank you very much. It says great works. Thank you. More grace. Ugokome, hello. It's been a long time. Thank you. I've been here. Chinwe says, it's wicked to a female child. Yes, so some of the things that we do, stifling their ability to go to school, not allowing them to function to their fullest capacity, it's evil. And I've said that if next time we want to complain that Nigeria is not doing well, the first thing we should say is, maybe one of the child that was supposed to change Nigeria was already been given off to marriage. So before you blame government, let's start looking within and thinking, what are we doing to make Nigeria as a whole, or our countries, not just Nigeria, every third world countries out there, better, by allowing everybody to function to their fullest capacity. Chinwe says the culture must end. Absolutely. We must begin to fight it. We must begin to write our constitutional court. We must stop it as well. And all this mindset of polygamy, if a man is allowed to have more than one wife, can women also have more than one husband? So let's just be equal, let's be right, and let's be right to the standards of Christ, because Christ will not treat us like that. Gift says some of the African tradition and culture has made the word of God of no effect. Absolutely. People, you know what I was reading about in Kenya as well. Do you know that they said that if you go to legally in Kenya, you can read up about it. If you marry a woman and even in church and you don't pay bride price, you're not considered legally married. So our cultural practices has overthrown our religious practices. So if you're in church and the church pastor married you and you've done everything, but you do not pay bride price, legally you are not married to her until you pay bride price. So what we are practicing our culture is now even threatening our stance as standing our stance of religiosity. But we're not religious and we're spiritual, but still. Anyway, Gift says, any tradition that prohibits people from fulfilling their God's given purpose is evil. Absolutely. I still hear churches that would be like, the husband is the one with the vision. As a woman, you are just here to support him. But that statement is destructive. It should self-destruct. That statement needs to go away from our churches. We need to understand that everybody has a vision. I know the woman, what's her name? Bukola Bekes, the one that sings in Nigeria. Her husband is always behind her, playing, I think it's the saxophone that he plays, always behind her. When she's singing, she goes places to minister. And her husband is there like, I'm just here and as an instrument guy. I don't have to be singing up front. You just do your thing, I'll just support you. And that's why I love that woman so much, man. Adedeji says, any culture that is negatively impacting our society must be deleted. Absolutely. Just like the lady said, just like what's it called? Elofi said, that when we question our culture, it doesn't mean that we want to get rid of it. It just means that we want it to get better. Jose says, yes, church wedding is not required. And elaborate conventional ceremonies are not necessary. Unwholesome traditions, rites, and society's stereotypes must be done away with. The focus should be timeless, universal, godly principles, and successful relationships. Love, mutual respect, communication, etc. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Dozier. Ayodeji says 20,000 what? Thank you. Well done, Elizabeth. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much, everybody that's been here. You guys are such fantabulous people. Please let's begin to study our scriptures and let us not be afraid to question what we feel is right. Because if you know that something is wrong and you continue to do it, then it comes to stand up on your integrity, your level of integrity. Because the thing is, we can continue to do it saying that because everybody's doing it. But do you know how many people were doing slavery for so long, even though they knew slavery was wrong? But they carried on slavery. You know why? Because they probably felt everyone's doing it. What's my own? Why should I talk? You know? So yeah, let's begin to fight for everybody's human rights. Thank you guys. It's been such wonderful time talking. I've loved talking about this. I've enjoyed myself. So God bless you guys. I hope you all have a lovely evening. Thanks for being here. Please go ahead and share. Please like. Please share. Please circulate the message. God bless you guys. Bye.